Good late afternoon, early evening. Hi, friends. I don't normally do this. I just finished recording the video for the Games Wizard Play chapter that I'm doing, and just talking in between to my boyfriend, I was like, "Fuck! If I don't read this chapter soon, I may not actually have a voice today." Um, and I want to get one of these done and then rest my voice for the night so that I can hopefully get the other three of them done tomorrow. But Merry Christmas! Hi, it's December 25th. I'm working today because I have a trip to go to. I'm going to Baltimore. And a million other things I have to do. I got to do Patreon commissions this week too, and just so much stuff to have to jam. So I don't get to take today off, but I get to celebrate it with all of you and read some Discworld to you. I was very, very happy with the last chapter of The Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents. We are now on to chapter 4. As is the case with all of these videos, this is for the lovely Sam Ptarmigan. Hi, Sam! Thank you very much. You're awesome. I raised my mug of what remains of my Theraflu that is getting me through my day. Very excited to bring more of this. This is a very interesting book. Here we go. The important thing about adventures, thought Mr. Bunsey, was that they should not be so long as to make you miss meal times. Now I'm really hungry. Ooh, I am hungry. From Mr. Bunsey Has an Adventure. The kid and the girl and Maurice were in a large kitchen. The kid could tell it was a kitchen because of the huge black iron range and the pans hanging on the walls and the long scarred table. What it didn't seem to have was what a kitchen traditionally had, which was food. The girl went to a metal box in the corner and fumbled around her neck for a string, which, it turned out, held a big key. You can't trust anybody, she said, and the rats steal 100 times what they eat, the devils. I don't think they do, said the kid. 10 times at most. You know all about rats all of a sudden, said the girl, unlocking the metal case. Not all of a sudden. I learned it when... Ow, that really hurt. Sorry about that, said Maurice. I accidentally scratched you. Did I? He tried to make a face that said, don't be a complete twerp, okay? Which is quite hard to do with a cat head. The girl gave him a suspicious look and then turned back to the metal box. There's some milk that's not gone hard yet, and a couple of fish heads, she said, peering inside. Sounds good to me, said Maurice. What about your human? Him? He'll eat any old scraps. There's bread and sausage, said the girl, taking a can from the middle cupboard. We're all very suspicious about the sausages. There's a tiny bit of cheese, too, but it's rather ancestral. Oh, my God. Something is going on here. Why does she believe the rats steal 100 times what they eat? They've taken, fairly extreme measures to hide food from rats. What is going on? I don't think we should eat your food if it's so short, said the kid. We've got money. Oh, my father says that it would reflect very badly on the town if we weren't hospitable. He's the mayor, you know. He's the government, said the kid. The girl stared at him. I suppose so, she said. Funny way of putting it. The town council makes the laws, really. He just runs the place and argues with everyone. And he says we shouldn't have any more rations than any other people to show solidarity in these difficult times. It was bad enough that tourists stopped visiting our hot baths, but the rats have made it a lot worse. Why are the rats so... Oh my God. She took a couple of sausages from the big kitchen cupboard. My father says that if we're all sensible, there will be enough to go around, she went on, which I think is very commendable. I entirely agree. But I think that once you've shown solidarity, you should be allowed just a little extra. In fact, I think we get a bit less than everyone else. Can you imagine? Anyway, so you really are a magical cat then, she finished, pouring the milk into a saucer. It oozed rather than gushed. Ugh! But Maurice was a street cat and would drink milk so rotten that it would try to crawl away. That's gross. Oh. I don't drink milk, except for the rare occasion I forget to say, please use almond milk or coconut milk in, a latte at a place that I'm at. I just haven't drank it. I just don't. I don't know. Something about milk is weird to me. So that is, extra disgusting to me. Oh, yes, that's right. Magical, he said, with a yellow-white ring around his mouth. Oh, yellow. Ugh! I don't know why this is too much for me. For 2 fish heads, he'd be anything for anybody. Probably belonged to a witch, I expect, with a name like Griselda, or one of those names, said the girl, putting the fish heads on another saucer. Yeah, right, Griselda, right, said Maurice, not raising his head, who lived in a gingerbread cottage in the forest, probably. Yeah, right, said Maurice. And then, because he wouldn't have been Maurice if he couldn't be a bit inventive, he added, only it was a Melba Toast cottage because she was slimming. Very healthy witch, Griselda. The girl looked puzzled for a moment. That's not how it should go, she said. Sorry, my mistake. It was gingerbread, really, said Maurice quickly. Someone giving you food was always correct. And she had big warts, I'm sure. Miss, said Maurice, trying to look sincere, some of those warts had so much personality they used to have friends of their own. What's your name, miss? Promise not to laugh. All right. Laugh at her name, what? After all, there might be more fish heads. It's Militia. Oh, are you laughing? She asked in a threatening voice. No, said Maurice, mystified. Why should I? You don't think it's a funny name? I know like 2 or 3 people named Alicia. No. You don't think it's a funny name? Maurice thought about the names he knew. Ham and pork, dangerous beans, dark tan sardines. Sounds like an ordinary kind of name to me, he said. Militia gave him another suspicious look, but turned her attention to the kid, who was sitting with the usual happy, faraway smile he wore when he didn't have anything else to do. And have you got a name? She said. You're not the third and youngest son of a king, are you? If your name starts with Prince, that's a definite clue. She is savvy. I like it. The kid said, I think it's Keith. You never said you had a name, said Maurice. Sorry, this next line's kind of sad. No one ever asked before, said the kid. What the fuck? Keith is not a promising name start, said Militia. It doesn't hint of mystery. It just hints of Keith. Are you sure it's your real name? It's just the one they gave me. Oh, that's more like it. A slight hint of mystery, said Militia, suddenly looking interested. Enough to build up suspense. You were stolen away at birth, I expect. You probably are the rightful king of some country, but they found someone who looked like you and did a swap. In that case, you'll have a magic sword, and only it won't look magic, you see, until it's time for you to manifest your destiny. You were probably found on a doorstep. I was, yes, said Keith. See, I'm always right. Maurice was always on the lookout for what people wanted, and what Militia wanted, he felt, was a gag. But he never heard the stupid-looking kid talk about himself before. Maybe you should call him Keith now, since that's what he's identified. Anyway, what were you doing on a doorstep, he asked. Well, I don't know. Gurgling, I expect, said Keith. You never said Maurice accusingly. Is it important, asked Keith. Oh, that's sad for him to ask that, because he's being genuine. Like, was that an important detail? But you never cared about him, Maurice. Like, Maurice never... Oh, God. There was a magic sword or a crown in the basket with you, too, probably. And you've got a mysterious tattoo or a strange-shaped birthmark, too, she said, or said Militia. Well, I don't think so. No one ever mentioned them, said Keith. There was just me and a blanket. And a note. A note? But that's important. It said 19 pints and a strawberry yogurt, said Keith. Not helpful then, said Militia. Why 19 pints of milk? It was the Guild of Musicians, said Keith. Quite a large place. I don't know about the strawberry yogurt. Abandoned orphan is good, said Militia. After all, Prince can only grow up to be a king, but a mysterious orphan could be anybody. Were you beaten and starved and locked in a cellar? Well, I don't think so, said Keith, giving her a funny look. Everyone in the guild was very kind. They were mostly nice people. They taught me a lot. We've got guilds here, said Militia. They teach boys to be carpenters and stonemasons and things like that. The guild taught me music, said Keith. I'm a musician. I'm good at it, too. I've been earning my own living since I was 6. That is a lot. That is a lot, Sam. Aha! Mysterious orphan, strange talent, distressed upbringing. It's all shaping up, said Militia. The strawberry yogurt is probably not important. Would your life have been different if it had been banana-flavored? Who can say? What kinds of music do you play? Kinds? There aren't any kinds, there's just music, said Keith. There's always music if you listen. Militia looked at Maurice. Is he always like this? She demanded. This is the most I've ever heard him say, said the cat. I expect you're very keen to know all about me, said Militia. I expect you're just too polite to ask. Gosh, yes, said Maurice. Well, you probably won't be surprised to know that I've got 2 dreadful stepsisters, said Militia, and I have to do all the chores. Gosh, really, said Maurice, wondering if there were any more fish heads, and if there were any more fish heads, whether they were worth all of this. Well, most of the chores, said Militia, as if revealing an unfortunate fact. Some of them, definitely. I have to clean up my own room, you know, and it's extremely untidy. Gosh, really? I think how the gosh really just looks so deadpan. And it's very nearly the smallest bedroom. There's practically no closets, and I'm running out of bookshelf space. Gosh, really? And people are incredibly cruel to me. You will note that we are in a kitchen, and I'm the mayor's daughter. Should the daughter of a mayor be expected to wash up at least once a week? I think not. She just sounds spoiled and entitled. Just a little bit. Gosh, really? And will you just look at these torn and bedraggled clothes I have to wear? Morse looked. He wasn't good on clothes. Fur was enough for him. As far as he could tell, Alicia's dress was pretty much like any other dress. It seemed to be all there. There weren't any holes except where the arms and the head poked through. Here, just here, said Alicia, pointing to a place on the hem, which, to Morris, looked no different from the rest of the dress. I'd just sew that back myself, you know. Gosh, Maurice stopped. Morris stopped, sorry. Just have it. Oh, shh. Sardines was rappelling down from a crack in the agent's ceiling. He had a knapsack on his back. And on top of this, I'm the one who has to line up for the bread and sausages every day. Alicia continued, but Morris was listening even less than he had been before. It would have to be sardines, he thought. Idiot. Excuse me, he always goes ahead of the trap squad. Of all the kitchens in all the town he could turn up in, he's turned up in this one. Any minute she's going to turn around and scream. Sardines would probably treat it as applause, too. He lived his life as if it was a performance. Excuse me, hold on. My throat is drying up. Other rats just ran around squeaking and messing up things, and that was quite good enough to convince humans there was a plague, but oh no, Sardines always had to go further. Sardines and his yarl dance and song and dance act, what does that word mean? And the rats take everything, Alicia was saying. So here's the thing. She's clearly exaggerating all of these things because she feels entitled. She feels entitled to a life that she's not having. So she imagines her life as this, she's in this very, what's the word I'm thinking of? Downtrodden state, which isn't really what's happening. So is she, well, we know that the rations are real. That's a real thing that's happening. So she's not exaggerating about that. I'm guessing she's not exaggerating about the rats? What does this mean, though? Anyway, what they don't take, they spoil. It's been terrible. We have to buy corn and stuff from the traders who sail up the river. That's why bread is so expensive. Expensive, eh? Said Morris. We've tried traps and dogs and cats and poison, and still the rats keep coming, said the girl. They've learned to be really sneaky, too. They hardly ever end up in our traps anymore. What's the good of the rat catchers offering us 50 cents a tail if the rats are so cunning? The rat catchers have to use all kinds of tricks to get them, they say. Behind her, Sardines looked carefully around the room and then signaled to the rats in the ceiling to pull the rope up. Don't you think this would be a good time to go away? Said Morris. Why are you making faces like that? Said Alicia, staring at him. Oh, well, you know that kind of cat that grins all the time. Heard of that? Well, I'm the kind that makes, weird faces, said Morris desperately, and sometimes I just burst out and say things. Get away, see? I just did it again. It is an affliction. I probably need counseling. Oh, no, don't go. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is not the time to do that. Whoops, there I go again. Oh, my God. Sardines had pulled, what the hell? His straw hat out of his knapsack and was holding a small walking stick. It was a good routine, even Maurice had to admit. Some towns had advertised for a rat piper the very first time he'd done it. People could tolerate rats in the cream, rats in the roof, and rats in the teapot, but they drew the line at tap dancing. If you saw tap dancing rats, you were in big trouble. Maurice had reckoned that if only the rats could play an accordion as well, they could do 2 towns a day. He stared for too long. Oh no. Alicia turned and her mouth opened in shock and horror as Sardines went into his routine. The cat saw her hand reach out for a pan that was on the table. She threw it very accurately. But Sardines was a good pot dodger. The rats were used to having things thrown at them. He was already running when the pan was halfway across the room. Then he leaped onto the chair, and then he jumped onto the floor, and then he dodged behind the cupboard, and then there was a sharp... Oh my God! There was a sharp, final, metallic snap. Ha! Said Alicia, and Maurice and Keith stared at the cupboard. That's one rat less, at any rate. I really hate them. It was sardines, said Keith. No, it was definitely a rat, said Alicia. Oh, no! I hate that pun. Sardines hardly ever invade a kitchen. I expect you're thinking about the plague of lobsters over it. He just called himself Sardines because he saw the name on a rusty old tin and thought it sounded stylish, said Maurice. He wondered if he dared look behind the cupboard. He was a good rat, said Keith. He used to steal books from me when they were teaching me to read. Excuse me, Are you mad? Said Militia. It was a rat. The only good rat is a dead rat. Oh my god. Hello? Said a little voice. It came from behind the cupboard. Sam, this is a ride. This is a journey. How is all of this happening? It can't be alive. It's a huge trap, said Militia. It's got teeth. Anyone there? Only the stick is bending, said the voice. The cupboard was massive, the wood so old that time had turned it black and as solid and heavy as stone. That's not a rat talking, is it? Said Militia. Please tell me rats can't talk. In fact, it's bending quite a bit now, said the voice, which was slightly muffled. Morris squinted into the space behind the cupboard. I can see him, he said. He's wedged the stick in the jaws as they closed. Watch your Sardines, how are you doing? Fine, boss, said Sardines in the gloom. If it wasn't for this trap, I'd say everything was perfect. Did I mention the stick is bending? Yes, you said. It's bent some more since then, boss. Keith grabbed one end of the cupboard and grunted as he tried to move it. It's like a rock, he said. It's full of crockery, said Militia, now quite bewildered. But rats don't really talk, do they? Get out of the way, shouted Keith. He grabbed the back edge of the dresser with both hands, braced one foot against the wall, and heaved. Slowly. Oh, no. Like a mighty forest tree, the cupboard pitched forward. The crockery started to fall out as it tipped, plate slipping off plate like one glorious chaotic deal from a very expensive pack of cards. Even so, some of them survived the fall onto the floor, and so did some of the cups and saucers as the cupboard opened and added to the fun. But that didn't make any difference, because then the huge heavy woodwork thundered down on top of them. One miraculously whole plate excuse me, rolled past Keith, spinning round and round and getting lower on the floor with that groing sound. Oh, it's a very satisfying sound. I did that terribly, by the way. You always get in these distressing circumstances. Excuse me. This is a mess. This is chaos. Keith reached down to the trap, grabbing Sardines. Excuse me, as he pulled the rat up, the stick gave way and this trap snapped shut. A bit of the stick spun away through the air. Are you all right? Said Keith. Well, boss, all I can say is it's a good job rats don't wear underwear. Thanks. Wow, he accomplished 2 jobs at the same time then. Thanks, boss, said Sardines. There was the sound of a tapping foot. Militia, with arms folded in an expression like a thunderstorm, looked at Sardines, and then at Maurice, and then at stupid-looking Keith, and then at the wreckage on the floor. Sorry about the mess, said Keith, but he was... She waved this away. Okay, she said, as if she'd been thinking deeply. It goes like this, I think. The rat is a magical rat. I bet he's not the only one. Something happened to him, or them, and now they're really quite intelligent, despite their tap dancing. And they're friends with the cat, so why would rats and a cat be friends? And it goes, there's some kind of an arrangement, right? I know, don't tell me. Huh? Said Keith. I shouldn't think anyone ever has to tell you anything, said Maurice. It's something to do with plagues of rats, right? All those towns we've heard about. Well, you heard about them too, and so you got together with Thingy here. Keith, said Keith. Yes, and so you go from town to town, pretending to be a plague of rats and Thingy... Keith. Yes, pretends to be a rat piper, and you all follow him out, right? It's all a big swindle, yes? Sardines looked up at Maurice. She's got us dead to rights, boss, he said. How is this all happening already? So now you've got to give me a good reason why I don't call the watch out on you, said Militia triumphantly. I don't have to, Maurice thought, because you won't. Gosh, humans are so easy. He rubbed up against Militia's legs and gave her a smirk. If you do, you'll never find out how the story ends, he said. Oh, it'll end with you going to prison, said Militia, but Maurice saw her staring at stupid-looking Keith and at Sardines. Sardines still had his little straw hat on. When it comes to attracting attention, that sort of thing counts for a lot. When he saw her frowning at him, Sardines hastily removed the straw hat and held it in front of him by the brim. There's something I'd like to find out, boss, he said. If we're finding out things. Alicia raised an eyebrow. Well, she said, don't call me boss. I'd like to find out why there's no rats in the city, Governor, said Sardines. He tap-danced a few steps nervously. Alicia could glare better than a cat. What do you mean, no rats? She said. There's a plague of rats, and you're a rat anyway. There's rat runs all over the place, and there's a few dead rats, but we haven't found a living rat anywhere, Governor. Alicia leaned down. But you are a rat, she said. Yes, Gov, but we only arrived this morning. Sardines grinned nervously as Militia gave him another long stare. Would you like some cheese? She said. I'm afraid it's only mousetrap. I don't think so. Thanks very much all the same, said Sardines very carefully and politely. It's no use. I think it really is time to tell the truth, said Keith. No, said Maurice, who hated that kind of thing. It's all because you were right, miss, said Keith wearily. We go from town to town with a bunch of rats and fool people into giving us money to leave. That's what we do. I'm sorry we've been doing it. This was going to be the last time. I'm very sorry. You shared your food with us, and you haven't got much either. We ought to be ashamed. I really like Keith. I really do. It seemed to Maurice, while he was watching Militia make up her mind, that her mind worked in a different way from other people's minds. She understood all the hard things without even thinking. Magical rats? Yeah. Talking cats? Been there, done that. It was the simple things that were hard. Her lips were moving. She was, Maurice realized, making up a story out of it. So, she said, you come along with your trained rats. We prefer educated rodents, Gov, said Sardines. All right, you're educated rodents. And you move into a city, and what happens to the rats that are there already? Sardines looked helplessly at Maurice. Maurice nodded at him to keep on. They were all going to be in big trouble. Militia didn't make up a story she liked. They keep out of her way, boss. Gov, she said Sardines. Can they talk too? No, Gov. I think the client thinks of them a bit like monkeys, said Keith. I was talking to Sardines, said Militia. Sorry, said Keith. And there's no other rats here at all? Militia went on. No, Gov. A few old skeletons and some piles of poisons, and lots of traps, boss. But no rats, boss. But the rat catchers nail up a load of rat tails every day. I speak as I find, boss. Gov. No rats, boss. Gov. No other rats anywhere we've been, boss. Gov. Have you ever looked at the rat tails, miss? Asked Maurice. Why, wait, what? Why would he ask that? What do you mean? Asked Militia. Oh, I'm at the end of the page. What the fuck? They're fake, said Maurice. Some of them, anyway. They're just old leather bootlaces. I saw some in the street. Holy God. They weren't real tails? Asked Keith. I'm a cat. You think I don't know what rats' tails look like? Surely people would notice, said Militia. Yeah, said Maurice. Do you know what I know what this is. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've never actually said it. An aglet, I think? It's, the part at the end of the shoelace that is like the little casing thingy, right? It's like, it can be metal or plastic. Like a lot of modern laces now, it's plastic. I think it's aglet. It is aglet. Okay. Do you know what an aglet is? Aglet? Aglet? What's an aglet got to do with anything, snapped Alicia? It's those little metal bits on the ends of shoelaces, said Maurice. Well, how come a cat knows a word like that, said the girl. Everyone's got to know something, said Maurice. Have you ever looked closely at the rat tails? Of course not. You can get plague from rats, said Alicia. That's right. Your legs explode, said Maurice, grinning. That's why you didn't see the aglets. Your legs exploded lately, Sardines? Not today, boss, said Sardines. Mind you, it's not even lunchtime yet. Alicia looked, well, grim. Aha, she said. And it seemed to Maurice that the ha had a very nasty edge to it. So, you're not going to tell the watch about us, he ventured hopefully. What, that I've been talking to a rat and a cat, said Militia. Of course not. That's why my father had been telling stories and I'll get locked out of my room again. Wait, what? You get locked out of your room as a punishment, said Maurice. Yes, it means I can't get at my books. Oh, that's pain. That's punishment. Excuse me. I'm rather a special person, as you may have guessed, said Militia proudly. Haven't you heard of the Sisters Grimm? Agonista and Eviscera Grimm. They were my grandmother and great aunt. They wrote fairy tales. Oh, so we're temporarily out of trouble here, thought Maurice. Best to keep her talking. I'm not a big reader as cats go, he said. So what were these then? Stories about little people with wings going tinkle tinkle? No, said Alicia. They were not big on tinkling little people. They wrote real fairy tales. Ones with lots of blood and bones and bats and rats in them. I've inherited the storytelling talent, she added. I kind of thought you had, said Maurice. And if there's no rats under the town, but the rat catchers are nailing up bootlaces, I smell a rat, said Alicia. That was a great line. Sorry, said Sardines. I think that was me. I'm a bit nervous. Oh, God. That's an even better line. There were sounds from upstairs. Quick, go out across the backyard, Militia commanded. Get up into the hayloft or the stable. I'll bring you some food. I know exactly how this sort of thing goes. No, don't let that. This book got even better. Sam, this is great. What are the rat catchers doing? Why have they created? Who's stealing the food? Oh my god, now there's a mystery. Oh, y'all know I love a good mystery. All right, I can feel my voice on the last edges of existence this evening, so I'm going to retire, write a couple reviews, play some Dragon Age, enjoy my rest of my Christmas. Rest of you hope you've had a good holiday time if you celebrate anything these days. Otherwise, thanks, Sam. I got another of these to read this week. I'm so excited. This is great. All right. See ya.